We're going to delve into a conversation that you got to know about on 31st of October when we published that report by the FDA that we should ban Dades3n, which is locally manufactured cookware, cookware. And since that time, actually, we are learning that apparently other institutions have also gone into the same area of finding out that apparently there is lead in the what you call Dades3n, because per the FDA research that we published earlier, the manufacturers actually use lead to soften the whole process, the metal they use, so that they're able to do this. So we are going to go into details about it and perhaps what you should do in terms of alternatives to safeguard your health. And we're joined by Reverend Dr. Esmond Kwanzaa. He's the Regional Director for Africa at Pure Earth. Good morning to you, Rev. It's great to have you.
Good morning. I'm so honored to be here.
We're also joined by Mr. Yakubu Adam. He's at the Forensic Investigation for National Development Ghana. And you tell me it's an NGO, right?
Yeah.
Good morning to you as well, sir.
Good morning, Beatrice.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So, Reb, when we're talking about this, you were telling us that apparently, of course, we published the FDA report just last month, but this is something that your group has also been doing research into. If you can tell us more about really this lead and the Dades3n thing.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to throw light on this issue. So Pure Earth is an environmental health organization focused on addressing heavy metal pollution with focus on lead and mercury. Pure Earth in 2022 collaborated with government entities to undertake health assessment to understand what are the driving factors of lead poisoning in Ghana. And what we discovered in 3 ecological zones, Greater Accra, Northern Region, and the Ashanti Region, shows that our locally fabricated Dades3n, popularly called Dades3n,
yes, but cookware, right?
recorded higher levels of lead concentrations. 77% of all the cooking pot that we assessed in 3 ecological zones show higher levels of lead concentrations, very, very high, that could adversely impact the health of people. We've also done another study in 25 countries, with Ghana inclusive in 2023. We purchased these consumer products from the markets. Most of the bigger markets in Accra, Eastern Region, Western and Ashanti. And we also discovered that the Dades3n recorded higher level. In fact, 55% of the pot that we sampled exceeded the reference levels of lead concentrations. So it's clearly a worrying phenomenon. It's not only limited to Ghana. Across the 25 countries we undertook this study shows that locally fabricated cookwares have these concentrations. There are 2 types of the locally fabricated cookwares. We have one process called the cast and the roll. So the cast ones really have a lot of lead concentrations.
So which one is the cast?
So that is saying, for example, the cast one.
How do they do it, which makes it
So
dangerous?
there's a whole process. There's a whole process that the fabricators go through. Some source the materials from the environment. So for example, you have these guys going around, picking this metallic pieces and all that. Some of these metallic pieces and all this part already are lead contaminated. So they use them in the manufacturing process and they indirectly transfer lead into it. And there is another process which directly involves introducing lead directly into the manufacturing process. The thing about lead is that it's malleable, right? And so can easily be mixed with other metals in the production processes. So that is what we are seeing in that case, in the case of the Dades3n. The rolled ones are not, which we call the aluminum pans. Our study have shown that they are largely lead-free, but the cast ones, which we call the Dades3n, are the ones with the higher lead concentrations, which we've seen. From there, we've been doing a lot of work to address the issues, and then I'll talk about that once we proceed. Yes.
Because I want to get the preliminary thought as well of Mr. Adam. Yeah. I know you've also been doing research into that. If you can tell us really what triggered, for instance, your research? Why all of a sudden you want to research into locally manufactured cooking pots?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning to your listeners and your viewers too. This issue has been there when it comes to lead mixing with cooking pot. It hasn't been new to us. It has been there since time immemorial, but it's just that attention has now been drawn to that fact.
What triggered that?
Yeah, and I think it even came as a result of recently FDA communicated that lead has been found in the cooking, the locally made utensils. But this has been already there. And one thing that triggered our investigation, realized that when it comes to lead, this heavy metal, it has a lot of deleterious impact. We are focusing on the toxicological points when it comes to this lead. So we are looking at the adversity that this lead poses on our health. Because if it's not about the health, I don't think we will be here talking about it. It's not only just when it gets into the environment, we interact with the environment. So definitely, we are going to pick them up. But this lead has been with us for long because of its property like ductility and malleability. So when you add it to these, raw materials, it can help shape whatever mold you want. But when we talk about this lead, one thing I want to bring to the notice of the audience is that this lead that we are talking about is not only found in the Dades3n. We are exposed to lead in various products. Yes, so focusing on Dades3n alone, leaving the other myriad of products that also contain lead may be disastrous. So if we are calling for maybe a ban on it, we should look at it holistically, looking at the policy that is going to ban. There are already policies. Ghana is a party to the Rotterdam Convention. We are party to the Stockholm Convention. We have a lot of conventions we've ratified as a country. And when we look at the Part 3 and Part 4 of the new EP Act, that's 1124, it talks about all these things, but it needs the enforcement. But my focus today, or our attention now, should really focus on looking at the holistic ban, not only lead usage in the Dades3n.
So the challenge is that these products also provide a source of income to people who are involved in that business.
Right.
Are there not alternatives? I heard you say that the cast is very dangerous. You talked about the roll as well. There should obviously be other ways that these locals can still produce without these poisonous substances, so they're able to make money. Because if you read a bit of that report released by the FDA and the lady who led it, Madam Owusu Kofo, which was done around the Eastern region, Somanya area, she said that when they are making the pots, the metal becomes hard. Yeah. So they add lead to soften it. The sad part is that most local manufacturers have no idea about the health implications. And that's why I'm asking, because this is also providing a source of employment and livelihood to other people. Right. Are there other alternative ways of producing without banning?
Yeah, I mean, clearly there are alternative ways. But I think you asked a very important question, and we need to educate your audience about what actually instigates these studies. So globally, lead poisoning is known to have caused a lot of mortality. We're talking about globally over 1 billion children are lead poisoned. A recent publication by World Bank in the Lancet Planetary paper reveals that up to 5.5 million people globally die due to complication from lead poisoning. So it's a huge issue. Institute of Health Metric and Evaluation also conservatively put the number at 1.5 million deaths attributed to lead poisoning. And we're talking about other myriad of impacts from health poisoning, like IQ loss in children, developmental challenges. We're talking about kidney issues and also cancer, which FDA has confirmed. So what has happened is that we are trying to identify what are the sources causing these higher blood lead levels. What are the sources causing these higher blood lead levels in children and in the population? And so this has actually instigated research to understand the sources. Where are the sources coming from? From our studies, what we are learning is that the sources are from two categories. One, from the environment, the activities of used lead acid recycling, polluting the air, the soil, and the water. And then the consumer product aspect. Now we are learning that almost 50% of higher blood lead levels is due to consumer products. So Dades3n falls within that category. Now, to come to your question, these are livelihood for people.
Yep.
And so banning it outright without thinking through it carefully would also displace people. So what Pureit has been doing when we discover this issue, just as we have the issue of lead being added to gasoline, it was a huge issue. And then over the period, lead was phased out from gasoline. I think Ghana phased lead from gasoline in 2004. Yeah. And so that was another source that was contributing to poisoning. Yeah. Now that is another thing. I think banning it outright is not the way. So what Pureit has been doing is that we've been collaborating with EPA and Ghana Standards Authority to undertake stakeholder mapping of this production of cookwares in across Ghana, and also understand the production processes so that we can help address the issue. One thing we've discovered through our work is that Ghana does not have any standards for locally manufactured cookware.
Which is what Mr. Adam talked about, the holistic kind of policy.
There are no standards. So what are we doing? We are providing support to Ghana Standards Authority, currently working on developing standards. And we're hoping that that process is ongoing. The meetings, the technical group was put together, and they are looking at that. We are hoping that by the second quarter of next year, standard for locally manufactured cookware will be ready for adoption. The next phase will be to look at what the work we are now concurrently doing, identifying those who are into the production of this, understanding the processes, and then there will be a second phase which will involve certification and training for these people to ensure that anyone who is producing this have the right certification to be able to produce based on the standards that have been adopted as a country.
And I'll come back to you to delve more into that. But very briefly, before I come to you, Mr. Adam, I'm just getting information that what the people in the northern part of the country use as eyeliners, what you call, is it kaji or kuli?
Right.
Also, apparently, there's research that shows that there's some level of lead in it. If you can educate us on it and how people can avoid using that. Exactly.
So I think as part of identifying the sources driving the blood lead levels, we've also came across what do you call it? The eyeliners.
Kaji.
The kaji.
Yes.
And I tell you, we have a portable analyzer, which we call the X-ray fluorescent analyzer. This analyzer is able to analyze and tell you in situ the chemical composition of some of these consumer products. And we discovered that these eyeliners used, some of them, 100% lead. 100% lead. And we discovered, through our work in the northern regions in particular, that sometimes these eyeliners are applied on new babies. Yeah. And they become teary for days because of the impact of this eyeliner. And we are trying to establish a link between higher blood lead levels in the northern regions to these eyeliners. Currently, what we are doing is we are conducting a randomized control study, the first of its kind in terms of lead, to understand the actual contributions of the Dades3n and the eyeliner to blood lead level measurement.
What is influencing, or what is causing the lead to get into the eyeliners, for instance? What is the source?
So what we've discovered is that there are two. So for the eyeliners, we have there are those that are made from the rocks. They call them the hard rocks.
Okay.
So lead is a natural occurring heavy metal in the earth crust. It's already there. So when they mine these hard rocks and they convert it into eyeliners, automatically there's already lead into it.
So there should be a process of extracting that from it.
Exactly. And then we have the imported ones that are just like Dades3n, they deliberately add lead to it because of the properties of lead, of being malleable and shiny and all that. So to be honest, for those ones, the eyeliners with lead need to be banned completely. I mean, our pilot study ahead of the randomized control trial have shown clearly, because we were able to procure lead-free ones, okay, the lead-free eyeliners, and then we sample a small community to try this, and the feedback we got was unbelievable, because we cannot ask the people to stop using the eyeliners. We can only provide them an alternative.
And I'm coming to you very shortly, but if you can still tell us why people would put lead in, what does it do in the liners that they think they must add to it, although it is harmful?
So, first off, most of the people do not even know that lead is harmful.
For those who intentionally put
Exactly. Some don't know, some do, but majority don't know. Secondly, lead is malleable, it's soft. So it can easily be mixed with other things.
Does it make the product softer so it's easier to use?
It makes it attractive. Okay, it also makes it stick together. Then it's also shiny. So apart from, we're talking about the design, we're talking about eyeliners. We're talking about paint. Lead is deliberately added to paint. We're talking about lead deliberately added to spices. Some of the spices you probably procure from the market looking so attractive and appealing, most of them have lead deliberately added to them.
You need a 360 overhaul.
And
really.
so this issue is a global issue. And this is something that, just as he mentioned, our awareness is now being drawn to this because of the impact of lead poisoning, the mortality rate, the disease burden. It's astronomical. So we are beginning to, where is it coming from? Please. That was when we are getting to know the sources, and then we are designing interventions to address these sources.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Kwanzaa, but just tell us more about this information, because it looks like it's not just in the cookwares. We are even talking about eyeliners. We are talking about spices. I mean, just tell us more about really all these things. And I know initially you talked about the kind of policies that we need. Mr. Kwanzaa has talked about standards. So for you, from where you sit, what kind of standards and policies do you expect to deal with all these areas that we've just spoken about?
For now, before we come with a policy, I think we should understand what the problem is. One thing, people putting lead into the manufacturing or the production of this cookware unaware, or sometimes they are aware, but they don't even know the health implication of these things. And as he said, paint is still found in paint. If you paint in your room, even if you are exposing yourself to this lead. So I think in 2023, lead concentration was actually limited in paint, that it should be, I think, 90 ppm, not more than 90 ppm. But just this year, one of your sister stations did an undercover investigation and realized that instead of 90 ppm, that is the threshold of lead in paint, they were seeing 200,000 in paint. And you paint your room and you sleep in, and you are inhaling this lead into you. And especially those that are mostly susceptible to this lead are the pregnant women and babies. And imagine this gets into you, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, gets to the child, leads to birth defect, can lead to IQ, can lead to a lot of condition, and even as the woman can even disrupt your blood-brain barrier, bringing about encephaloedema. So we should understand and appreciate the problem. Now, we know the problem that is having negative implication on our health. Now, what should we do? Where do we have to tackle it from? Now, looking at the Dades3n alone, Dades3n alone is not the only source of lead. Now, Kajikaji, who is mandated to regulate Kajikaji? I think it's part of the FDA mandate. Now, the EPA also and the Ghana Standard Authority comes in when it comes to the Dades3n. What about the paint? And the Ghana Standard Authority set the 90 ppm, but still we had an influx of 200,000 ppm of lead. So, meaning our regulations are even weak.
Sometimes they will say they don't have the manpower to regulate all these areas. It looks like they are overwhelmed.
Then we shouldn't do anything, because we cannot close one eye and open the other eye. It should be holistic. And lead, exposure to lead from Dades3n is far, far less when we compare it to the paint that we are exposed to. The lead in Dades3n, unless you cook or boil the food over a long time, and the older the cookware, the more releasable the lead is. These are some of the things. So I believe that let's sit down as a country. Let's look into it. Look at when you get to the United States, 1978, they completely banned lead in paint. Now, toys that we even buy for our kids, they all contain this lead.
Oh, wow.
And the toys will be placed in the mouth of the child and everything. These are something that is in our environment. So I don't actually go to the school of thought whereby we have to deal with the Dades3n law. So now, what should be the way forward, the policy? Now, let's empower, as you said, the EPA. let's empower the Ghana Standard Authority. Let the laws work in Ghana. Ghana is a party to the Stockholm Convention. We are a party to the Rotterdam Convention. We even, when you look at our Part 3 and Part 4 of the EP, at 1124, it actually talks about how to regulate all these things. So there are already laws and policies for this. But what are we doing as a country? When it comes to enforcement, we lag behind. So we should understand and appreciate the problem and fortify the policy and also the enforcement.
So as an individual, I may not use Dades3n, I may not use kaji, but of course I may use other product that may contain without knowing.
Yeah.
And the paint, all of us, we paint. Yeah. I mean, the moment you see dirt on your wall, you want to repaint.
Right. And the furniture.
And the furniture as well. Lead. Oh, wow. Okay. So, for instance, if I go to the store or the mall, I want to buy paint to repaint my place because I feel it's dirty or it's old. What should I look out for? Because I know sometimes they may not necessarily write lead. They may write the compound name, and you may not understand. What should I look out for?
So when you go in for paint, mostly when it comes to these ingredients, lead is not something that should be mostly indicated on that. So you hardly find it. So it's not your work to watch out for. Okay. It's the work of the regulatory agency, because we cannot say we are going to work. And one thing is that they put lead, because when you put lead, it makes the paint stick longer on your walls. It makes it more shiny.
Oh, so we should be looking out for the waterproof paints then, what they put in.
That's the property of lead. It dries faster, it shines, you'll be far away, you'll be seeing, oh, look at the Flagstaff house, you know, shining and everything. But these are all lead. So the manufacturers, they want to add it so that people want to get a paint that is shiny, that is lustrous, not a paint that is dull. So even when they say they should take it off from their product, they will end up trying to incorporate it. But just that they know that it will escape. Look at Ghana. When it comes, they hardly check. Or it can beat, you know, there are a lot of things that Ghana Standard Authority does. Almost everything that is imported, they have to regulate it.
Let me ask you this very briefly before I get your final word, because we are wrapping up. Now the major conversation is about Dades3n, but there's also the other concern about people who say, okay, I want to use the cookware or the locally metallic, produced pot Dades3n, but I may want to use the earthenware or earthen pot. But there are also concerns about the galamsey and the fact that already we have high levels of lead in our soils. What would you say about that briefly before I come for your final word? Yeah.
But when it comes to the alternative using these apotoyua, the asankala we use, we did a research on that, I think 2021, realized that these asanka that are made from clays that are solicited from galamsey areas contain this mercury. So even grounding something, you are likely to expose yourself to this mercury. So that may not be necessarily the alternative. Now people are also going for non-stick cookware. This is more deadlier than the thing we are talking about, because it's mostly coated with chemical, what we call the PFAS chemical, forever chemical, perfluoro, alkyl substances. And these are substances when they get into our body can lead to oxidative stress, can lead to a lot of cancers that we see in the worldwide is attributed to these PFAS chemicals used to lack our. So the alternative should we be going for maybe the regulation. We have to regulate, and maybe I think you will tell us the alternative.
In 30 seconds, if you can tell us your final word.
Right. Lead, it's a global issue, and lead poisoning and its adverse impact on our health is enormous. But also in the past 3 years, there has been a groundswell of advocacy, funding available to tackle the issue. I don't want to come to the defense of our regulatory agencies, but we've had about 2 or 3 projects with these regulatory agencies, and I can assure you that they look very determined. With the technical support we provide, with the funding resources we provide, we are sure that we're going to be addressing this in the shortest time possible. I want to also say that we've secured some amount of funding from our donors to do a lot of work in Ghana for the next 4 years, and that is so tremendous, and we are grateful to our funders for that funding support. During this period, we'll be working to understand the issue more and work with the regulatory agencies to be able to tackle it. Dades3n, yes, it's an issue, but we're hoping that once standards come online, and the certification process, I'm sure gradually there will be a phase out.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Esmond Kwanzaa, Regional Director for Africa at Pure Earth. Thank you for joining us. Also to you as well, Mr. Yakubu Adam, with the Forensic Investigation for National Development, Ghana, an NGO. Thank you as well for joining us to have this very important conversation. Well, are you looking for a university that will prepare your child for the future? Then Academic City University is the best choice for you. At Academic City, we do not just teach, we nurture creators, innovators, and leaders who shape tomorrow's world. We offer undergraduate programs in engineering, computational sciences, business and communication arts, and our BSc in artificial intelligence and robotics engineering are the first and only one of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa. With world-class facilities and industry-experienced faculty, students do not just learn the latest technology, they actually create it. And for the working professionals and young graduates, we have got you covered as well with our MSc programs in cybersecurity and data science analytics, as well as our professional certificate programs. At Academic City, our programs are practical,